There he is.
There he is. Hey, Martin. Find the empty chair.
You've been shuffled too.
So do I. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Thank you, Martin. You made it just under the wire. First of all, I want to welcome Elma Hamming, our new manager of finance. It's great to have you here, Elma. I feel like we've got our team in place now, everybody here firing on all cylinders, and I'm really happy to welcome you here, so thank you very much. And then also I understand we have some special guests from Edmonton. We usually don't get foreigners here, so welcome to the Good Keys, who are Rich and Barb, who are here. Thanks for joining us. That's great. Okay. What's that?
We have to try to be entertaining?
Yeah, now you can do the first song. Yeah. Okay, so take a motion to, public input. Does anyone want to speak to us? Come forward, come on forward, tell us your name, and you can speak to us for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Or thereabouts.
My name is Christy Fisher, and I live on the corner of First and Washington where the new retaining walls just got put in.
Okay.
After 2 months of noise and disruption, the new walls are in, they look great, they're beautiful.
Good.
So, but I have one request, and I just, they had to cut down a big shade tree of mine, so here's just a couple pictures of where it was and what it looked like before and after. And I'm requesting compensation for said tree. It was quite big, it provided shade for my property, it added privacy because I'm in a corner. And so it would be really nice if I could get some kind of compensation for the tree, either monetary or a tree replaced, or I don't know, I just asked the council to consider that.
Okay. Was the tree on your property, or was it on the city boulevard?
Yeah, it was right on my property, like right on the edge, but because it was in the way of their construction, because they had to cut into my property in order
Right, to put the wall
framing
in.
in for the wall,
Okay.
they had to take it out, otherwise it would have been okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Give us, at our next meeting, we'll give you an answer about that, if
Okay,
not
yeah, I just
before.
wanted to
Okay,
do that
we'll
today.
put that.
Now, I have one more question. One more thing is, I used to have this old-fashioned wiring, it's called ornamental loop wire fencing that I would have along the railing
Yep.
that my vines would grow up on,
Mhm.
and then, so of course, it's all removed, so the new fence, and I don't know if I'm allowed to put it back up, because as I understand it, the new wall is actually all on city property now, so I don't know if I'm allowed to put up that ornamental loop fencing attached to the railing. It just stops wayward dogs or maybe children or people just from stumbling into my yard where it's level there. And it gives a little extra security for my yard, for my cats and whatnot, so
Okay.
you know what I mean.
Okay,
So I'm just
well,
wondering, am I allowed to put that ornamental wire fencing back on there?
I have no idea if you are or not. It's
Oh,
actually,
there's a picture, yeah, this is what it looks like. This is just a sample I got off the internet.
yes, I remember that fence.
You can't get that stuff anymore.
No, I'm
It's like
sure not.
antique type stuff from the 30s to the 60s used to manufacture it, and I managed to scrounge them up. And I've always had it on there for 20 years. I've had that stuff on there. And it just takes up the first half from my lilac bush to where the end of the cedars are. So
Right.
that's just all I want to know, if I'm allowed to put it back on. That's all I want to know.
John?
And then I had a couple of pieces of lattice, 4x8 lattice that I had also, which is white vinyl. It looks nice. It's not ugly.
Okay, and that was on your property?
That was,
Yes.
yeah, just on the inside of the fence, yeah, because the
Yeah.
whole fence, the whole wall, it was actually on my property
Right.
line, but now the new fence, as the engineer told me, is just outside of my
Right.
property, on city property, so that's why I'm asking
Right.
permission, or if it's possible.
Because you want to put a fence on the city,
Yeah, like
what's
that
now city
ornamental
property.
fencing would be
Right.
attached to the railing, but I don't know if that's kosher with you guys, or if that's
Yeah.
allowable, or do I have to build a fence, or what do I
Yeah,
have to do?
I'm going to leave that with staff too, and we
Okay.
will get back to you on that, okay?
Great. Well,
Is that
thanks
all right?
for your
John, did you have a
consideration.
question?
Was the old fence on city property or on your property?
Well, I don't know, I think it was on my property, because the
I
engineer
was
told
wondering
me
if you
that they
had
set it
permission to
back.
put it up before.
Huh?
I was wondering if you
Doesn't
had
matter.
Well, I
permission to
didn't
do it
know,
before.
I didn't know where the
Yeah.
property line actually was.
Yeah.
It would cost money to get a survey.
That's
to
right.
do
No, it
all that,
doesn't
and
matter.
I didn't
Don't
bother.
worry about that. Doesn't
The old
matter.
wall was bowing in, it was actually overhanging my property, and I put that, it's been on the fence for 20 years and no one said anything. And the vines would grow up and passersby would say, your yard
Yeah.
looks great, I love the vines on there, whatever.
Okay, thanks, and we'll get back to you on that, okay?
Well, thank you very much for your
Yeah,
consideration. I
good.
just wanted to bring it up this meeting, so.
Okay, and I'm glad you like the new wall.
It's, wow, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's too bad they
Great.
couldn't have gone all the way along the alley, because now they gotta tie it up with the rock wall. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but
Yeah.
it waits to be seen. so.
They'll work their magic, right,
Yes,
Karen?
they will.
Yeah.
And they've been very considerate, the crews.
Okay,
I
that's
commend
great,
them.
thanks, we like
Okay.
to hear that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else for public input? Come on forward.
Sorry, Dimitri Lesnowich, 1710 First Ave.
Hold on one second, Dimitri. Do you want Dimitri to spell his surname?
Yeah, if you
I
could.
can give it
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
I'm just here, speaking in support of the first variance on the agenda at 1691 Kootenai Ave. I'm working with the owner to design, the new carport they're putting in there. So if anyone has any questions,
I had a question. Are you really gonna be able to do that and not remove any of those trees?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
For
because
sure.
those are nice trees, I have to say.
And,
That's
and
great.
well, the owner agrees too, because
Yeah.
they're right there, and
Yeah.
that property is right
Right.
on it. So as it stands right now, the excavation would be the only problem. The footprint of the building isn't actually affecting those trees.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Anybody have any questions on that for Dimitri right now? Something may come up when we discuss, but it's very early on the agenda, so.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Okay, anyone else yes, hello, Laura, do you want to speak to us?
No.
No?
I'm just putting the agenda back.
Okay.
I do, but I'll skip it.
Okay.
I'll put it in.
Okay, anyone else for public input? Nothing? Okay. Okay, then we need to adopt the agenda, get a mover for that. Andy moves and John seconds, all in favor of the agenda, and no one opposed. Okay, we have no petitions and delegations, but now we have some minutes to adopt, so we've got to take a motion for adopting the regular minutes of June 27th and the special of June 30th. Can I get a mover? Andrew and Aaron, any comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna have trouble finding it out. So, in the minutes, I'm just looking for it. I had it highlighted in my old version, but the revised version I don't have it. It notes that we have moved to adopt the new policy on rental and fees for city.
Are you on the June 27th minutes?
I'm just trying to figure out whether it's June 27th or June 30th.
Okay,
Sorry.
hold on.
I had it highlighted, as I say, in the old one, but I don't in the new one.
Oh, yeah, no, this first one, the...
30th or 27th?
27th, yeah. On page 7 of 142, or, yeah, 7.
Got it. Yeah, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but this says that we've moved to adopt that policy with the amendments that Andrew's brought forward. I thought we were going to consider the policy after we saw the amendments.
Yes, I thought we were too. Council approves.
What page is that on, sorry?
Equipment rental.
Top page 8.
Yeah, it's top page 8. Facilities equipment rental fee waiver reduction were deferred back to staff to revise as per Council Andrews Vickers amendments. Yeah,
Yeah.
Referred back.
yeah, that was just a motion to refer. So it wasn't.
The first was a motion to approve it, which got
Which
defeated.
defeated. So the second was just a
Sorry,
motion to
Norman.
refer.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
Okay.
You see that?
Anything else on the 27th or the 30th? All in favor? No one opposed. I keep looking to Brian to vote. That's pretty funny. Okay, we don't have any unfinished business, but we do have a bunch of recommendations from staff. So first
Well, we
one,
got the
There's
special
special minutes that need to be adopted too.
no, I adopted them in one motion. I did the 27th
okay.
and the 30th in one. Okay. Variance permit. So this is reducing the front and side setbacks, enlarging the driveway for 1691 Kootenai Avenue. Can I get a mover on that? Lloyd, and a second, Martin. Discussion, Lloyd.
Nope, I'm fine with that.
Okay, Martin.
I had the same concern about the trees, that's all.
Okay. Andy, something?
Same, no,
Anybody? Aaron?
Just a quick question. If I'm reading it right, it would be possible to put the carport in the back, but it's inconvenient because
There's no
direct
access to
access
the,
from the carport to the lower level of the house, is that right?
to the main level of the house, is that right,
Main level of the house?
Dimitri?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The whole base is a shop. And so you can go drive into the shop, I guess, and then you'd have to go back outside. And there's some stairs around the front, and then you have to go around the front and then back up to the Kootenai outside, and
Right.
then
It's kind of an odd construction, right, that it was built as sort of a workshop underneath without
Yeah.
access to the house.
Jeff, yeah, he was a bachelor at the time, and now he's got a kid and a wife,
That explains it all, okay.
He's got toilet and laundry
Okay,
right too.
John, oh wait, hold on.
But
Aaron.
so if that's the case, and I looked at the planner to answer this question, I know we usually grant variances and the criteria are set out here quite clearly. Grant variances in the case where there's no impact, seems like there's no impact. But this seems like a case of convenience as opposed to need. I don't know what kind of precedent we're setting if we make it convenient for people to have variances, even in the case of no adverse impact.
Stacy, you want to
Sorry, and
comment?
the other question was, I didn't see a statement in here from Public Works that things were okay. Where's this?
Stacy, do you want to comment on that?
So yes, I did check with Darren, and we talked, the only concern that we had was the stop sign, and it's going to be
Okay,
moved,
yeah.
so we did talk about that. And it was going to be better for snow removal because the car is off the road, so it
That
will
part,
help
yeah.
for snow removal. As we're setting a precedence for variances, most variances come forward out of a more of a design or cost impact. A lot of them do. And some of them are more of a convenience than others. Yes, it does set precedents, but every situation, every variant situation is completely different. And every one of them is evaluated based on those factors of their impact on the neighborhood, the impact on the environment, and the impact on operations. So we look at every variance separately. So
Okay.
we don't set that much of a precedent.
Sorry,
Wait.
I feel the same way. I thought the criteria is all encompassing. You know, if you go through it, whether it affects the neighbors, whether it affects the snow, it's pretty expansive, and if it meets that criteria, fine.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else on that? Oh, John?
I just have a couple quick questions. I went down and looked at it. Right now, there's a bridge from the front door out to the highway, or out the road, so the carport's gonna be at that level?
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially.
There's
What's
a-
gonna be under it? Is it gonna be on piles, or is it gonna be on a foundation?
It's gonna be on a foundation, so there's.
So there's gonna be a big concrete wall?
Yeah,
facing the
there'll
street.
be a storage space underneath, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be at the exact level the bridge is right now. It won't be wide enough for two cars to comfortably fit in there. So we've definitely taken it in on the far side as much as we could.
I take it the roof line's not going to, it's gonna be separate?
Yeah, it's gonna be a gable roof, it's gonna hold its snow.
But any rain coming off the house roof is gonna land in front of the front door?
Everything's gonna be tied together.
The front roof on the house comes here, and then there'll be a gable on the end of the...
Yeah, so,
Carport.
I mean, part of it will have to rely on good, eavesdrop,
Okay.
but it's all doable.
Okay. Any further on this? I'll call the question. All in favor of this variance? Anyone opposed? No one opposed. Okay, next we have another variance. This is for 2350 Leroy. We're reducing the setbacks, placing the driveway on the west side. Need a mover for that. John moves, a seconder. Andy? Okay, John, got some comments on this one?
No, I went and looked at it too, and it right now is a jungle, and it's gonna be a nice house, so...
Yeah, did you see where there was the garbage spread around in there for the bears too? Yeah, okay.
There's probably a bear den or two in there.
Yeah, probably. Okay, any other comments on that one? No? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? No one opposed. Okay, now we've got some Huckleberry Jam requests for Use the Bike Skills Park on September 10th. Mover for that? This is the annual, okay, Andrew and Aaron. Andrew, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic event. It's always really fun. It's a really, it gets big crowds out. It's a great thing. My only question, and I really want to support it with the city, my only question is thinking about our new not yet adopted facilities
Right.
policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And wondering how it
Yeah.
can explain that. I guess it's not officially adopted yet, so we could kind of sneak it through and be okay.
Yeah.
But once it comes around, that'll probably not be considered okay by our new policy.
Yeah, it might not be. Or we do the same thing we could do the same thing we did for the Children's Festival, which is if they require any staff time. Do they require any staff time on this, Darren? So they would pick up the tables and chairs themselves and all that? Because that's what we did with the Children's Festival, right? We charged them where staff time was involved. So to be consistent, we could do that.
Yeah, and I think that's what it goes to. It's not officially adopted yet, it's not really there, so I'm just supporting it.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to approve this with just the statement that if staff time is required, they pay for staff time, but they don't pay for the items, or no? Just leave it as
I think we
is?
don't need to do it, just say.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. Okay.
I had the same concern. It seems like it's an ongoing event, and that's one of the things we're gonna address in the new thing. The other thing, I thought when we get a request like this, the number of people that participate should be part of that request. You know, they've got some historical data, and there's no numbers there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That could be something that staff could ask when these requests come in. We could just, or train.
Economic impact analysis?
Yeah, train people to tell us how many people are coming, how much beer is drunk, that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm gonna call the question on this to approve.
Quick question.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be, this is the bike skills park, it's up by,
Lions.
Lions Park.
Mhm.
So one concern I know when I saw that, just to know whether there is the potential of any impact on the wetlands area, putting it on hosting a large event like this.
Okay, these guys have been very helpful in doing things to help with the wetlands, so I think they're quite cognizant of it, but, we could put that in there as to make sure that we approve it with the condition that they don't impact the wetlands. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to say that?
I appreciate having that in there, sure.
Okay, so that'll be added to the motion to, do we have a seconder for that? No impact on the wetlands? Aaron says yes. Okay, I think that's good. I think they're gonna be really good about
Yep,
it, because they
yep.
have been, but it's good
Just-
to have that out there, because we do say that to other
Good
groups.
point, yeah.
Okay, call the question, all in favor of the event? Good, no one opposed. Okay, skate park. So I think maybe, let's just skip to the chase and go straight to Aaron's, comments and motion on that.
Yeah, I'll move that we accept staff recommendation, specifically that, and you have the wording for this, that the city underwrite the $30,000 contingency needed by the Rossland Skate Park Association, on the understanding that any monies actually used are to be repaid to the city. That the city approve an exemption from the purchasing policy such that all payments and accounting for the construction of the skate park be undertaken by the city, on the understanding that if this is acceptable to the RSA, they'd forward all funds raised to the city for this purpose. And that staff prepare a letter of understanding with RSA that sets out mutually agreeable terms for the above arrangements.
Okay,
And-
is that the whole motion, or are you adding that to what staff had said? Because
This
staff
is
also had the part.
This is the whole motion.
Okay, because staff also had the part that says does not relieve the skate park association from continuing to fundraise and assisting. Yours is a little looser on that.
Mine's actually tighter because the staff recommendation doesn't specify that the money has to be repaid.
Yes, but yours doesn't say they have to continue to try and raise money, right?
Well.
So if you say they underwrite contingency on the understanding that they continue to raise money, and any money raised is used to repay the city.
Okay, it's true, I didn't say that. The motion as worded, specifies that they owe us the money if they use any of it. I didn't say they have to raise money to pay us that money.
Okay.
That's sort of inherent in owing us the money.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll go after their
I'm
firstborn.
happy to have it amended if you think that adds clarity, but.
Well, as long as it's clear to them, that we expect them to continue to fundraise, right? Because,
I think that's
So
pretty-
what we could do is in the letter, we'll have the motion and we'll put just a note in
Sure,
there
make-
saying that.
Yeah.
better understanding.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Right.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Yeah, Lloyd seconds. Okay.
The other thing you say, I'd like the word contingent in there upon them
It
agreeing
is.
to it, rather than their willingness to, or what, how does that, I thought it should be a little more direct.
That the city underwrite the $30,000 contingency needed by the Rossland Skate Park Association on the understanding. You want it on the contingent,
Yeah, we do this contingent upon.
contingent that any monies actually used are to be repaid by the city.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Got that, Allison?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Could
Martin?
speak to it briefly?
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this already. The advantage of doing this, obviously we're taking a slight risk with taxpayer money. If they do use that $30,000, and if they can't raise any money at all to pay us back, we're risking taxpayer money by doing this. That's the downside. The upside is if they do this, if they get that $30,000 contingency, they're able to proceed now with construction. That's a benefit of about $15,000 worth, because COPCAD can use the machinery on site to do the excavation for them now. The machinery's out there. There's also, as we know, a benefit of about $12,500 to them running the accounts through the city, saving the GST thereby. So this basically allows them to start working this summer. That's the upside. And to mitigate our concerns about the downside, I'll point out that in one push last year, in a single month, they raised $60,000 from Rossland supporters here in town. So they've proven themselves capable of raising money. I'm not saying there's no risk at all. I'm just saying to mitigate the risk, we have to understand that this is a group that has raised a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that's good. I had one question on the staff summary of, I think you prepared that, right, Steve? The summary of costs, it's on page 33, and it's got the $10,000 for landscaping, floating elsewhere and not included in the, I think it's not included in the 296. And I know there had been the commitment to residents that landscaping would be done to dampen the impact of the skate park. But I'm just wondering, was that $10,000 assumed to be an expense of the city based on your calculations here?
The anticipation was that there'll be a grant that might be available for that portion.
Okay. Yeah, because that's extra money. Martin, did you have something?
Yeah, the only comment, maybe you responded, I haven't checked my emails, but you've asked the city to do the project accounting. Do we have the capacity to do that? I don't think it's a whole lot, it's not onerous,
Yeah,
but...
no.
Elma, over to you.
Just another commitment, we've talked about,
Welcome.
Yeah.
loading staff up more and more every week with more and
Yeah.
more stuff, so, I don't think it's onerous, and I support the
Right.
project, but I just wondered if...
I did get back to you on that,
Oh,
and
did
the
you?
response was, yes, as you know, I'm the first one to get concerned about overloading staff with more commitments. And I'm conscious of the fact that we're asking city staff to run books for a project that the Rossland Skate Park Association is doing. So the two things in response to that, they don't negate that concern, but two things in response to that. One is, we always understood, the understanding has always been that RSA is going to build this thing and then hand it over to the city. So at some point or another, this is a city facility, right? It's not yet, it will be soon. So there is some justification for the city actually doing some of the books. In fact, it may be a good thing, because we get some oversight on how the thing works, right? That one thing. The other thing is, they do have a professional project manager, Mark Doherty from DJM, who's running this thing. And I assume that, from what I know of him, he's going to make it easy. He's not going to throw a bunch of receipts in a shoebox at you guys, right? It's going to be professionally run, such that it's not onerous for the city to keep track of the accounts on that.
So it's going to be good project accounts, and the city's really just paying the bill, doing the payables.
Yeah, there will be some work on the city's behalf, it's true.
So it was just really a question, did we ask staff for that?
Elma, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think that it's not ongoing, it's a one-time, it's happening during, the late summer, early fall. I think it's a good time to fit it in. So I don't see an issue there.
Andy?
We noted on further reports beyond how our engineer is providing us financial updates for a Washington Street project. So I'm wondering, is there a template, Elma, for example, that you would want to see that would help the process?
I think just making sure they provide, appropriate bills and that'll be sufficient, right? Like not in a shoebox.
Yeah, like weekly reports.
So it's not actually, it's not a matter of Darren having to be on site as project manager.
Right.
There is a project manager. What's going to happen is, they will send the city invoices, or the contractors or the suppliers will send invoices to the city, maybe through Mark, I'm not sure how it works, and the city pays the invoices after having approved them.
Well, they should go through Mark, because he has to approve them. He's the project manager, right? So because we can't have contractors sending us and we're not on site.
I'm a complete non-expert on this stuff. All I'm saying is, we're not project managing.
Right.
We are simply paying the bills as they come in.
That's right.
Whether they come
Mark
from
is project
or
manager.
I assume Mark's coming to send it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Great.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Call the question. All in favor of skate park contingency? Good. Okay, call-out policy number 0601 revisions. So, there were a few comments on that. We can, let's see, I guess let's have a motion to adopt it, and then maybe there's some changes that people wanted to make. Is that right? Okay, Martin will move that we adopt, and a seconder. Andrew seconds. Okay, Martin, do you have things to say about it?
Yeah, I just thought the key point from the previous policy was our opposition to having two people go out in that corrects it. So we send one person, and if there's a need for a second, then that decision's made on the spot.
Okay. Andrew, you had some specific things?
Yeah, I guess, while I was reading it through, I guess, when I read it, I didn't interpret it that way, and I know I have a personal experience with this particular policy as well, which I wish we would have had this in place at that time, would have been excellent.
Yeah. That's why we're doing it. We're doing it. Better customer service in the future.
But I guess as I read through it, it didn't, and maybe it could be simpler perhaps, or I'm sure it's in there, I'm sure the intent is there, I just maybe I didn't pick it up in the interpretation as I was reading it through, but I was thinking, I don't have that page right now.
It's page 34.
But the
34.
Page 34.
But the 3 points I think that I sent over there, the idea that, okay, sorry, that maybe we put in there that, you know, the rule is that we're gonna send one person, with the exception being, it's something obvious, an emergency that they clearly know, okay, we gotta get out there quickly with the guys and the equipment and 2 guys. And then as a rule that, okay, maybe we'll always go with 1 guy with minimal equipment, so there's not an equipment charge when it doesn't necessarily need to be an equipment charge, and that first person goes out, you know, triages the situation, and then they call in what they need afterwards, and then we don't get in a situation where, I mean, it probably would be very rare that it would happen anyway, but we have had a couple instances of it, myself as one, and the person here the other day.
Right.
I think that might make it clearer and easier to understand.
Okay, so, Lloyd was first, and then Aaron?
Okay, when I looked at it, I thought Martin summed it up in a nutshell. We had a case where we sent 2 employees and it wasn't necessary. We thought we should send 1, and if the circumstances dictated, we would call another one. And I looked at the highlighted area on page 34, and I would delete the first 3 words, under certain circumstances. Just delete that and say, 1 senior employee may be called out to attend the emergency on their own. If necessary, the senior employee may be required to call out another person for assistance. I didn't like the first part where it says under circumstances.
Well, as long as you have the may in there, because there are probably times when it's clear it's gonna be 2 going, right?
Well, I think, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
If somebody phoned and said they had the major water line
Right.
broke on Washington Street, I'm sure they'd send more than 1 person, but
Yeah.
I think in most instances that covers it. 1 senior employee may be called out. If necessary, the senior employee may be called another employee for assistance. So if I got the call that it was a dire emergency, right away I'd make that decision and say, both of us better go and assess this.
Yeah. Also, Andrew, to your point about equipment, it does say the current equipment rate for any equipment used. So is used mean actually deploying the equipment or just having it show up on site? If they come out with a piece of equipment and it doesn't get used, the person wouldn't be charged for it. Is that right, Darren?
Well, I mean, if they showed up with a pickup truck and it's $24 an hour for half an hour, they're gonna be charged $12.
Right.
So for an example, let's say somebody called and they had questions about a possible sewer line issue coming out of their house, and they show up with a Vector truck, and they'll actually, it's on your property line, and we don't need the Vector truck. So is that gonna get billed for the Vector truck when it's common doesn't need it? Okay. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, to make that clear, to make, so I agree with Lloyd, you take out the under certain circumstances, and then I'd also take out the word may, because that just leaves that room for interpretation.
Yeah, but sometimes they're gonna need to send 2 people out, so I think the may is important.
Well, that's why that's why the suggestion I say is, the rule is we send out 1, and then you have some kind of thing about an exception if it's a clear obvious emergency where you know we're gonna need 2.
Okay, Brian.
Just a comment back on that. So the intent of the policy is for the billing and the call out. So what you guys are talking about is more of the standard operating procedure that we would do operationally, which will be taken care of. So we never know what happens. Like, right, if you get a call out and it's a simple thing, then staff should be able to figure out through standard operating procedures through Public Works that 1 person can go shut off the water. But if we know that there's an issue with that and we see water and you know, it's like there's a history of it potentially, say, for example, and we know that by shutting off that water, that someone else is not gonna have water, so then you're gonna have these double things, so that's where we're gonna have to look at our standard operating procedures. But I think that if you were to just remove the under circumstances and just say 1 senior employee may be called out because we don't know what the event is, right?
Yeah.
This is a generic policy for us for recovering some costs.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then in your standard ops, then you have the specifics laid out, and you know what council's intent is, right? We're trying to reduce the expense to taxpayers, provide better customer service, not send people out that don't need to go. It's all about efficiency of your people too, right? So I think we're all on the same page with that. Aaron?
I actually agree with Andrew. I mean, even if you, and I understand you can make it good within the operating procedures, but you still have wording here that says, you know, take out under certain circumstances. You still have wording that says one senior employee may be called out. There's no indication of that we prefer that there only be one. This one may be called out, 5 may be called out. You know, that wording is unclear. If you put, you know, in most cases, well, one senior employee may be called out unless it's obvious that there's a need for more. That's fine. Or somehow indicate under what conditions you wouldn't have one. If you just say one may be called out, that doesn't really say anything.
Okay, but I mean, I think what I'm hearing from staff is that it's handled in the standard that
Sure
level of
and
detail is handled in the standard
I have confidence that they will handle it in the
operating
operating procedures,
Yeah.
but we're not giving them any guidance for writing the operating procedures in this policy, right? So why bother having a policy if you're not going to be clear about what you want? What we want is, there should be one that goes out, unless it's obvious that there's a need for more. If the one goes out and it becomes obvious that there's a need for more, another one gets called in.
Okay.
This language doesn't actually say that.
Okay, so you would take out under certain circumstances, and you'd say one senior employee may be called out to attend emergency on their own, or more if necessary. I mean, is that what you
Will
want?
be, or more if necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This just leaves it open for, and like, the previous person who came here, they could have argued perfectly well against us, that it only says may, and they would have had a really good case. Because
Yeah.
he thought in his position that they didn't need to have 2 people come out.
Right.
He thought it could have been 1.
Right,
this comes
but
back
that
to
is
all-
a
all the
decision of
policies.
staff, right? It is gonna be a decision of staff whether they think there's
That's
one
why I say
or
But
more
the
if
point is,
necessary.
we just open to him to come in, and now we have to make a
And now we have to
one-time
argue
decision
it.
again, which the whole point of the policy is to avoid
Right,
having to do that on a case-by-case basis.
right, you're right. I'm gonna get Darren to speak and then.
So, you have to understand, sometimes what is an emergency to one person is not an emergency. The guys will get called saying, there's a water main break, it's coming through my wall, I need you guys out right away. We're not gonna send one person to go and look, because you're thinking this wall is gonna boom and take out their yard.
Right.
But sometimes you'll go out there and it's their water service that has been trickling for a month, but now it's an emergency. So what do we, so now we go out there, the guys have been told it's an emergency, you need to come out, we go out there, we turn the water off, and we walk away. What you're saying is we charge them for one person?
No.
So I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying exactly what you're saying, but let's make that clear in the policy. Exactly what you're saying, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lloyd and then Aaron.
Well, I think by taking out the first 3, it alleviates the concern that Aaron's saying. The second sentence, it says, if necessary, the senior employee may be required to call out another employee for assistance. I think that covers it, without adding
Just say
more.
other employees, because maybe it's
Yeah.
more than one more.
I would say more employees if necessary.
Aaron and then Martin.
I don't think that covers it. You say, if necessary, you may call out more. If necessary, you will call out more, right? Going back to Darren's point, we're still leaving it up to staff's judgment about how
Right.
many people to send out.
Right.
If in staff's judgment you need 2 people, you send 2 people, or 3 people, you send 3 people, right? It's still up to staff's judgment.
That's right.
All we're saying here is that unless staff decides otherwise, our preference is to send 1 person. But if staff decides otherwise, we will send more. So we're on the same page.
Right.
It's just a matter of getting wording that, in my view, actually conveys what page we're on.
That's
And
right.
we got a disagreement over what wording does convey that. but I
Okay,
think we're on the same page.
so yeah, I think we are too. I think we're arguing vehemently about the same thing. So how would you say it? So maybe Allison can at least get the draft down. Then I'm gonna let Martin talk, and then I'm gonna let Lloyd talk. So, Aaron, do you have a?
1 senior employee will be called out to attend the emergency on their own unless staff deems that more are needed.
Okay, got that. We'll hold that then. Hold that thought. Martin?
Okay, the only point, sort of following on what Darren was, I think, trying to get at, and on one hand, this is about call-out, and the other part of it is getting the job done. And sometimes you need 1 more person to get the job fixed. And some
Right.
other times you need way more people.
95% of the time
Or
you
you
need more
need
than one
none.
person.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sort of that's part of this issue
So then
too.
they'll call them out, they'll come, if they're needed, they'll come. We're just trying to express our preference that if it's just
Yeah.
a water, if one person can do the job, we want one person to go. And right, the old policy was 2 people always went, isn't it?
It wasn't really a policy, no. And internally, you know, we needed to adjust.
Yeah. Okay. Lloyd?
Again, I just went back to the second sentence. If necessary, the senior employee, instead of may, say, will be required, or can be required to call up another employee or employees for assistance.
Is that different than
You know, and
what we've got?
that's, you're adding about 4 or 5 words. I'm just taking one word and changing it from will to can, and employee, and I'm adding in employees.
Do you want me to just repeat what I had?
Yeah, repeat what you have, and Lloyd, see if that works for you.
So, one senior employee will be called out to attend the emergency on their own unless staff deems it necessary for 2 employees to attend for assistance.
More.
For more employees.
2 or more employees.
Yeah, just say more, because it could be any number. Could be the whole crew, you know?
Yeah. But remember what the reason for this discussion was in the first place. It was how much are we gonna bill the customer? And the customer was upset that 2 people, that he was being billed for 2 people, when in fact one person could have just come and shut this thing off,
Right.
right? And so I think we don't wanna make this.
No,
thing
I think
now.
we've
No,
addressed
no
it.
problem.
I think we've addressed it. Okay, are we done? Can we vote on it? Everybody ready? Okay, call the question with the amendment,
Can we
okay?
read the amendment one more time?
Oh, yeah. Read the amendment one more time.
So, one senior employee will be called out to attend the emergency on their own unless staff deems it necessary for 2 or more employees to attend for assistance.
Okay, so first we'll vote on the amendment. Aaron made it, and
I'll second.
and Martin seconded. All in favor of the amendment? Okay, and then all in favor of the policy as amended that was moved by you? Did you move it? Who moved it? I can't remember who moved the original.
Just for clarity, then, are we deleting the sentence that starts if necessary, or is that still in?
It's whatever Allison read.
So, it was
Yeah,
like
so
basically
the-
the 2 sentences
Combined.
combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
So what I said, we'll put it in there.
And you've got a mover and a seconder on the main
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? No one opposed? Yay, good. Okay.
That was way harder than you
Now we're gonna do it.
Yeah, now that's next. Okay, so now there is a staff recommendation to approve the proposal from Terry Miller and Associates in the amount of $2,500 plus GST for the completion of additional public input sessions and a final report. And I would like Steve to speak to this just a little bit, because there's no background for the group here of the results of...
Yeah, the public input sessions were very interesting. They were quite exciting at times, and I think they were valuable. I think they're going to be helpful for you to make some decisions. But, as with any of these things, it wasn't perfect. You know, we tried to get, first of all, we tried to get 50 to come to each session, so we phoned well over 100 with your help. We phoned a lot of people. And the numbers, the turnout was lower than we hoped at each session, despite the fact that we sent reminders and we sent the full package, so we emailed and stuff. And I had some people say, I'm definitely going to be there. But
Maybe because you emailed and stuff.
I guess we scared them off.
They didn't like
Might
it.
scare them off, yeah.
Possibly. So anyway, what we found was that the sample was skewed. We tended to get more older people, and we tended to get more, they filled out the boxes in terms of their income levels, and we tended to get people at a slightly higher income level than you would think is the norm. Now, I didn't do this scientifically, but that's what it seemed to. So the thought is whether or not we continue to do a couple more sessions, selecting people in a slightly different way to try and get younger people and a different demographic. So that's the proposition.
Okay. So, do I have a mover? Andy moves, and a seconder? Anybody in a second?
Just to get.
Okay.
For discussion.
Okay, John,
Yeah.
so we have discussion. Andy?
I certainly, when I sat in on this process, or at least in the design of the process, I believed it was going to give us a really good cross-section of our community. Disappointed it didn't. I'm not sure that targeting a similar event or process to try and gather insights from a younger demographic and poorer demographic would be of value in this way. And I'm more wondering about thought exchange, for example.
Yeah.
That process
We
for
are
me-
gonna do a thought exchange thing, just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
and that will hit
And
more
that,
people.
that process for me makes a lot more sense, especially for the demographic that we weren't able to target in this first process. So I personally don't think it's worth spending more money on this particular project. And I appreciate what has been invested thus far, and I look forward to seeing the report that comes from the 2 evenings. And I'm assuming that was, the commitment that was made by the consultant was to provide us a report from those 2 evenings. So I would like to consider another option for us to go after the demographic that we have yet to get.
Okay. John, as a seconder, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I was wondering, the demographic we got were older, richer people. How will doing it again ensure us that we get a more balanced sample?
Well, you would be more selective in how you invite people, so you would do that through recognizing certain groups will tend to be younger and perhaps a different income level. So be more
So
selective in how...
it's no longer random.
You know, the process was a good process in some respects, and it has flaws. I mean, I've been involved in lots of these sessions, and no matter how you do it, it's going to have flaws. I mean, thought exchange has flaws. I mean, what you're trying to do is get a body of information to help you make some difficult decisions. So I think the first 2 sessions were helpful. I think thought exchange is going to be very helpful. I think the town hall meeting, which eventually we're going to have as well. And I think if we go through the thought exchange and then we figure that we maybe need to target some specific information, maybe that's what we do. That's kind of how I see it. We may need some additional information once we've gone through that process.
Okay, Lloyd?
I'd like to make a motion to defer the decision on this.
Okay, well, we got a
And that
motion
should
on the
take-
floor right
No, that
now.
should take precedent. If I can get a seconder, then I'll speak to it. Yeah, motion to defer is gonna take precedent.
Does it? A motion to...
Did I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
If Robert's Rules approves of it.
But the reason I think we should do that is, just what Steve alluded to there. Thought exchange, our experience with it, the one time we used it before was very good. And we had a broad section, cross-section of the community, and we had a lot of input there. And I think if we defer making a decision on this until after the thought exchange, and then we can readdress it and say, okay, there's an area that maybe we've got to focus on, you know, one particular aspect of it. And then we might contract with this person, do a little bit more, or we may not.
Okay. All right, any discussion on the motion to defer?
Yeah.
Oh, Aaron was the seconder, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so...
No, wait, Aaron was the seconder, he goes
Okay.
next.
Actually, so a little bit of discussion, but followed by a couple of questions for Steve. So the current contract has Terry obliged to give us a report on the 2
No.
meetings? No. There's
Didn't
no-
include a report.
So that what, this $2,500 is for a report, because if I understand right, the proposal is to run a couple of sessions, and he's gonna run the sessions free.
Yes.
Yes.
And the $2,500 then is to write up a report that summarizes all the meetings.
Yes.
So really, what we're talking about here is not so much whether we should have a couple more meetings, although that's part of the discussion, but the bigger question is, do we want a report?
Right.
Because that's what we're talking about paying for. I agree with Lloyd that if it was a question of having a couple more meetings and targeting a younger generation, and also with Andy, that we can capture that probably through the thought exchange, and it's better to wait until after that process to decide whether we want to do that or not.
Mhm.
But I want to bring us back to the more salient question, which is, do we want to report?
Mhm.
Do we want to report on the Terry on these meetings?
Mhm. And I think that's kind of a hard question for everyone to answer at this point, because you haven't actually seen the raw material, right? The material.
Well, it's in the information.
It was in the
We-
information.
Oh,
we
was
got
it,
it
oh,
all.
was
Yeah,
it, was it all
we
in
got
there?
it all.
I
Oh,
don't think
okay,
everybody's
all right,
read
all
the
right,
whole
sorry.
thing.
All right,
But-
sorry, I know I read it, but I wasn't sure you guys had seen it. Okay, Martin.
Okay, so a couple of things about the motion to defer. So, I mean, I'm in support of deferring it, but I do have a question about sort of the continuity, I guess. You know, you go through these 2 workshop processes, and then you do a completely different thought stream process, and albeit, I think the thought stream kind of processes in the past have attracted younger people, and so I think what you said is correct, that, you know, then you get their input. But again, I'm just kind of wondering, unless you ask the same kind of questions.
We're going to be asking about similar questions.
Well,
to say the
similar,
same-
but again,
yeah.
you know, the continuity, or at least the comparability, to
think
compare
it'll be
this
quite comparable,
information,
actually.
you know, it should be
Yeah.
comparable,
I
and
think it will be.
otherwise you end up skewing the data and maybe drawing the wrong conclusions. Anyway, but I was also gonna make the point about, you know, paying Steve for the actual, or Terry for the report, and so I just wanted to clarify or confirm that that was what we were doing in that recommendation. So it was two parts, trying to attract the younger people and pay Terry for the report, and I was kinda wondering about that. So I'm in favor of deferring it and trying to understand this process a little bit better.
Okay, John?
Were we not gonna get a report?
No, no.
from Terry?
No, we had we wanted him to run the workshops and give us the material, but we were being bargain basement proposal. There were several options in the proposal. One included a report, but it was more expensive, and we as a council decided to go for the lesser expensive option. The other thing to bear in mind is that at the end of the day, and this is Lloyd's favorite line, the decision comes back to this table. So what we're doing is we're gathering information from all different sources. And I think you can draw a lot of conclusions from the material that we have gotten without a report, right, just by reading it ourselves, right? And we'll get a lot of information from the Thought Exchange, which does bring conclusions as part of their process. So the motion to defer actually does make sense to me, because then when we're at the end of the day, when we've got this information that we're going to look at, or that we have looked at, we're going to have the Thought Exchange that we look at, and then if we decide we want to continue and do more of these, that's the time to do it, and then we can spend the $2,500. You know, that's one thing. Steve?
Just one thing I'd add, though, that the deferment doesn't necessarily mean that we don't get the report, because the consultant is very keen to wrap this thing up from his professional point of view, from future opportunities. In other words, it was an exciting project for him professionally, and therefore he'd like to put a bow around. So if we defer it, and then you decide then you want to get the report, and you also would like to conduct a slightly different, or whatever further focus groups we want to do, that's something I'm sure we can then talk to the consultant and say, you know, would you like to do that? So deferring doesn't necessarily negate getting the report.
That's right. Well, that's the whole point of deferring as opposed to voting it down, right? Okay, so I'm going to call the question on the motion to defer. All in favor of deferring? Okay. Anyone opposed? Andrew's opposed. Do you want to be recorded?
Yeah, I think we're passing a free session.
Yeah, that's true. We are. Well, we're not. We're just deferring it. We could still do the free session after Thought Exchange if we decide that it still makes sense. Because we'll get demographic information from Thought Exchange as well. That's the intent.
Just one comment. I think there are 7 of us here, and we had a preliminary overview from Steve. You know, 7 of us, we read that stuff, we can do a report. I got 3 pages of comments, after reading all this stuff. So, everybody's going to do a report, and it's going to be different slant. And if he's doing it for a professional basis, kind of wrap up the package, maybe you should throw in the report for nothing.
Okay. All right, moving on to our wildlife attractant control bylaw. So this was at our direction, staff put together this new bylaw, and we were going to do, with the recommendation is that we do first, second, and third readings of this. And usually, we don't like to do 3 readings at one time, but because this is time sensitive, because if we don't do all 3 readings now, this will be into September before we actually adopt it. And the point is to try and reduce bear killings. So, yeah. Anyway, so we've got the bylaw here in front of us. Do I have a mover to do first reading? Andy, first reading on the bylaw. Seconder? John? Okay, you want to comment on it?
Just, I appreciated some of the comments coming from other councillors in regards to this. There is, certainly it's impossible to get bear-proof containers for every resident. But I think, you know, the important thing for me is that people stick by, you know, make the effort. I don't think green garbage bags are a good idea. It's pretty obvious that a container of some sort. I think the bigger issue is not the bears as much as it's the dogs and raccoons. Turning out that we've got crows in the community now and ravens consistently figuring out that garbage bags are easy picking. So, yeah, let's get.
Okay,
let's
so
get,
you're happy with it as is with no amendments?
Yeah, at this point, it's a good start.
Okay, who was the seconder? Andrew? Oh, John was, okay.
Yeah, wildlife resistant containers, there is no such thing.
Yes, there is.
Well,
We're not,
they're pretty expensive. And
no, you could actually
you can
do, we're not
get a
saying
seal,
bear-proof.
You can get a seal.
Yeah.
It says, a wildlife resistant container means a fully enclosed metal container with a sturdy metal cover capable of being completely closed to reduce odors and secured with a latching device of sufficient strength and designed to prevent access by wildlife. There's no such thing that will stop a bear. I mean, Alan Davies has had bears climb into his garbage truck.
That's true.
So, you know, I don't know of anything. And then it goes on to talk about a wildlife-resistant enclosure on your property. That means a steel or concrete thing. A bear can go through a 2x4 wall. If he smells garbage, there's been cases in Warfield where they ripped out the wall behind the kitchen sink in a house because they could smell the garbage there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you're talking about bears...
So do you have some suggestions you'd like to see changed to this to make it more practical?
No, but I know those don't work.
Okay, Aaron has some ideas.
I do know what we do.
Okay.
We keep all our attractants frozen in the
Right.
freezer.
Right,
And
and
we put
a
them on
lot of people do
garbage.
that. I'm gonna call on Aaron and then Martin. Aaron.
So I think I had some of the same reactions Andrew did and John did to the bylaw, but then it occurred to me that I was reading it wrong. So the provisions that John is talking about, the wildlife-resistant container and the wildlife-resistant enclosure, are for people that are storing their garbage outside all the time. So, in other words, if you live up in Blackjack, you take your garbage and you put it in Al Davies' big metal container. You take it to where the metal container is, you open the lock, you put it in, you close it again. That is a wildlife-resistant container, right? And it's wildlife-resistant because it's used to store garbage, right? So this bylaw makes perfect sense if we're talking about storing garbage, and it does talk about storing garbage. So it's perfect. I have no problem with what it says about wildlife-resistant containers and wildlife-resistant enclosures, because it's talking about storing your garbage outside all the time.
So it's the definition of store that Andrew brought
no,
up.
and I think the definition of store is to leave it outside all the time. But that means that I do have a problem, because it doesn't address the thing I wanted to see, which was when you put your garbage on the street. That's not storing your garbage, that's putting your garbage out. So I'm going to propose an amendment that refuse put out for collection should be placed in metal or plastic bins with lids. How fast are you now? And not placed at curbside before 5 a.m. the morning of the day of collection. This gets at two things that we want, right? It stops us from putting out bags of garbage on the street, which the ravens and the dogs rip up, right? I've lived in a lot of places in Canada, and I've never lived in a place where you could just put your plastic garbage bag on the street. Nobody does that. I couldn't believe it when I came here, and just a garbage bag, you know, and some dog ripping it up. It doesn't make any sense, right? Right? We should, you know, buy a plastic garbage bin and put it in there and put it out. That's the one thing it does. The other thing it does is say you can't put it out the night before. This is a huge problem, and the reason we're talking about this in the first place is we had this presentation about let's not kill bears in town unnecessarily, and the way you stop attracting bears is stop putting stuff out that they like. People that put their garbage out the night before are attracting bears, right? So it gets at those two things. I think the bylaw is fine as it relates to storing garbage, but I don't think, I think it needs an amendment like this to get at the intent of what we're trying to achieve with this bylaw.
So I think there's a couple of things that have to be changed. In interpretation, you do need a definition of store, right? And in the part where it says storage of refuse, or to put your amendment in there, it needs to be something about day of collection handling or something. There needs to be something in there, because it's not actually, you're not talking about storage, right?
Yeah, well, we could define store as permanent, permanently,
Long-term.
permanently placing refuse in a particular
Yeah.
location.
Okay. Those are good amendments. So you're making these amendments. Allison, do you have them?
Yep.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Martin seconds? Okay, do you want to
Sorry, I
comment?
spoke before.
Yeah, you know, the only comment I have is, this is personal experience. The bears are hanging around our area on garbage day. And I don't know if they hear the truck or what, but they're hanging around. So we put our garbage out an hour before pickup. And we stand out there, our neighbor, take turns watching the garbage, because the bear comes up, and the bear walks right by to the garbage container. So, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. So our solution is not get bigger and better, more capital intensive garbage containers, but we went out and bought, and I attribute this to Marion's wise head. She goes out and buys a bottle of ammonia, costs $1, and she sprinkles some ammonia on the garbage container, and the bear doesn't come anywhere near it.
Tell her you could be,
that's
That's a good idea. Okay, okay, we're probably not gonna put it in a bylaw though, right?
No.
But that would be a suggestion. We can put it in the newsletter. We can put it in the newsletter.
It's a great
It is a great suggestion, actually. Okay, so there's an amendment. You want to discuss the amendment?
Yeah, I agree with the amendment, and I think it should, you know, you talk about plastic or metal, I'd just say a container with a lid.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, we're not clear enough when we discuss these and send it off to staff, because I think Martin alluded to it on the call-out policy, and again, Aaron alluded to it here. What is our problem? We had crows and raccoons and that. People putting a plastic bag up and they tear it and it's all over. And they put it out to where the amendment addresses, so it's going to be in a container with a lid. So I'm in favor of that. But I think in the future, we should say, what's our problem and what do we really want to address in our policy? And that'll simplify the whole process.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, I mean, we did that. We did that in our resolution that we had, where we said we want to indicate that residents are required to place all garbage in a lidded can when outside during the permitted hours, and increase fines. That's the direction to staff.
Yeah,
So
but-
now this is the existing bylaw as it was, and now we're tweaking it a little bit, now that we've actually
I
seen
think
it.
it's fine to tweak it, but
Yeah.
I think clearly the misunderstanding of council, you know, and what we really wanted to accomplish, we had 8 or 9 emails exchanged through the day about this bloody thing, and we're still arguing it. But anyway, let's get on with the amendment.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment? Call the question on that? Okay, no one opposed. Okay, any other amendments to this bylaw? Andrew?
Yeah, the first one that popped out at me was, the city of Rossland being exempt from this bylaw for the downtown core. I think the surest way we can make sure people know, listen to our laws is when the city doesn't follow our own laws ourselves. So I think that, to me, was, not a great one to have in there. I think if we're gonna ask people to get lids and have proper containers, we also have to do that ourselves. And we have to be the ones leading the way on that front. And then the other stuff was not intent changing at all. It was just little editing stuff like the one that sent over this afternoon. Because when I first read through it, I was like, oh, is this telling me that I have to store antifreeze in my yard?
Yeah, right, I know, that was good. That was good, I like that.
But otherwise, I agree with the intent of it. The only part that I disliked was that the city was gonna be exempt from it.
Okay, and so the thought about the city being exempt, I know that was in the previous bylaw, so is there, Darren, do you have any comments on that? Is it because of the, I mean, we have bear-proof containers down.
We do, that we don't use any non-bear-proof containers except for special events.
Yeah, so we could take that out, that number 6, let's just delete that.
Yeah.
We don't even need we'll make the motion, so it's
Yeah.
motion
Make a
to delete number 6.
Number 6.
Aaron seconds it. Who's in favor? Anyone opposed? Nobody's good.
And the other one,
Okay.
the edit we made was to just change the language, not that it's that important, but if someone ever actually read it,
On the
you
antifreeze?
could just make it a little, well, the couple of the ones, I think it was, there were a number of them there that were written the same way, but the same edit would work for all of them.
Yeah.
Who's going to enforce it anyway?
Well, that's the
We
other
have
question.
bylaw enforcement officer, people on light duty. Okay, so do you want to change that on number 13, where the,
Well, I just put 13 as an example. It was the same kind of wording in, what we're.
Yeah, 12 has it too,
12
right?
also.
Because not everybody has an outdoor fridge. We don't all have to have them. Okay. You know what? Why don't you just, well, Brian's got that. I think if we just agree with those changes, because it's really just semantics, right? I mean, and it's good. If we agree with that, and then he can change it. Okay? Okay. So, is that all right? So we'll have a, you want to make a motion to make those changes?
If I can make one comment.
Yeah.
When it says that the city is exempt, what about all our fruit trees on our property?
Yeah, we're gonna be fining ourselves like crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's a way of
Well,
raising
they
money.
cut them all down.
Yeah,
The
Aaron.
current exemption doesn't exempt us for that either. The current exemption is only for the purposes of commercial.
Downtown core.
Yeah, yeah.
Downtown,
But I'm
right?
just thinking,
We're not gonna exempt ourselves from that. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna get volunteers. We're gonna have more community pick days like we did last year. Those were pretty awesome,
yeah.
right?
Sure,
Okay.
they went and made wine out of it, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I got some terrific cider out of it. I really did. Okay, so Andrew, do you wanna do anything on those?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not connected here. I was gonna pull up my email, I just put the numbers, it was like 5, 7, 16, so there were like
Yeah,
4 or 5 of them.
there were 4 or 5 of them. There were 4 or 5 of them. Everybody saw the email about it. It's just really changing the language, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
I saw the
require
email.
everyone to store antifreeze on their property and doesn't require everyone to have an outdoor fridge, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Andrew makes the motion, we're gonna
Yeah, I know.
adopt those changes,
Yeah.
right? Andy, you make that motion, adopt the changes. Martin, seconds them, all in favor? Nobody opposed, good. Okay, so that, you just do that.
So-
And then other than that, the bylaw with these amendments, oh, you got another one?
Sorry, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Just tell me I'm being stupid if I am, but the offense says, the maximum penalty not exceeding $2,000. So, that could be $5, could be $2.
No, the fines are 100, but you get a fine of $100 for every offense. But
Oh,
if
sorry,
you
there's a
keep
schedule here. Sorry,
doing,
yeah.
you see the schedule?
See, I am being stupid. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
okay. So how is everyone comfortable with the fines being 100, 100, 100 for everything except 200 for failure to remove fruit and 400 for antifreeze? Okay with that? Okay. Okay, so we're going to approve the policy with the amendments.
The bylaw.
The bylaw.
The bylaw, sorry, the bylaw.
First reading with the amendments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready? First reading, are we good? All in favor? Good. Second reading.
Second and third reading, do together.
Second, third reading. Can we do those two? Can we do them
Yeah.
together?
Yeah.
Okay, well, mover for second reading. Aaron and Andrew, all in favor, second reading, third reading. Good, we're done. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was good. Okay, so now we have, so we support an application for an OCP and zoning amendment giving first and second reading to the official community plan amendment bylaw number 2616 and zoning amendment bylaw 2617 and schedule a public hearing for August 15th for the property legally described as at 1807 Columbia Avenue. So this is for changing the Rotary Health Building from public institution to commercial. Okay, Lloyd moves it and Martin seconds it. Any discussion on this?
Straightforward.
Okay, discussion. Proponents, aware that they need to work with design review, right, because they are in the core? Okay, that's good. Okay, all in favor? No one opposed. That's great. Next, task list. Any comments on the task list? We're always happy to see the task list. Anybody? No? Miners Hall update. Project update. Comments on Miners Hall update. Darren, you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, no, basically what was in there, it, as you can see, the roof is still just got the ice guard on it. The steel is supposed to be in tomorrow, so he's hoping to get back up to it on Wednesday.
Okay.
Start getting the steel in there. There's very few unknowns underneath, which was good, you know, not much rot at all.
That's great.
And there's been a couple of small extras, just more for mechanical, for the venting and stuff for eventually the attic space. And a couple windows, but everything's going, okay, there's a bit of a delay with this steel issue, but Gray Hawk had come in to remove the lead caulking and paint on the building while Trail Roofing was having this delay.
Okay.
So I don't think we're gonna be.
So it didn't
far
get
off.
slowed down.
Maybe by a week, but that's about it.
Okay. Let's see, I think Andy had his hand up first. Did you have something on Miners Hall?
I just was surprised at the whole metal issue, although, wow, I mean, that was quite the mix-up. I'm assuming that metal was in the requirement.
So there was an addenda to the contract, to the tender, allowing the one contractor to ask if they could use 26 gauge, and the addenda was, yes, you can use 26 gauge, provided it's approved by the warranty people. So when the warranty people came out on site and realized they're using 26 gauge, then they said, we've never tested 26 gauge. So they would warranty it for the 5 years, but not for wind. So we were not willing to take that risk.
Goodness.
So then we, just...
That's not changing our cost?
No.
Good, because I'm assuming that was
I'm
stipulated.
gonna say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Good.
Of course, the contractor, has a few issues with that, but that'll be dealt with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
thanks. Martin?
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask the same question for Washington Street as well.
We haven't gotten to Washington Street yet.
For both projects, could you just tell whether they're on budget and on time, on schedule?
I can tell you that the Miners Hall is maybe a week behind and on budget. And Washington Street on budget and
Okay.
I'm gonna say 2 weeks behind.
Okay, any other questions on Miners Hall? Nope, good. Okay, moving on to Washington. Thank you for these updates, Darren. They are helpful. Any questions on Washington besides the one that Martin just asked, which you just answered? John?
Yeah, so just a verbal update on it. It's, the rock is now done, the blasting is complete as of Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping we don't need them back in. The amount of rock that we've encountered is less so far, from what we predicted with our
All the
boreholes.
drills?
Some of our boreholes, if you hit a 4 or 5 foot rock, then you can get a false reading as it being bedrock. A lot of it was able to be chipped out with the rock hammer. So we are going to be, at this time, under budget on the rock, which is, I'm still hopeful on it. Progress has been delayed a bit, as you've seen on Bubble and through our email, or through Rossland Talks, is they have not passed their water quality testing, which means it takes about 5 days to 7 days to complete the process of rechlorinating, reflushing, waiting your 24 and 48 hours for retesting, and then sending them to the lab, which takes about 24 or 48 hours, depending on which test. So right now, I think they get their 24-hour count back tomorrow afternoon, and then the 48-hour back Wednesday afternoon. And hopefully they pass this time so they can start hooking up the water main to all of the residents and businesses along there.
Okay, good. Anything else on Washington Street? John?
First of all, I'd like to say I'm really impressed at how clean Copcan's keeping the area. I go through it several times a day, and it's spotless. On where they were blasting, have they already got the pipes in there? That's all filled in again?
Where they were blasting between 5th and 6th, you mean?
Yeah. No, 4th and 5th.
4th and 5th, I mean, sorry. No, it's not filled back in. They're starting to remove that now. No, there's no utilities in it.
Yeah, because there was a great big pile of blasted rock and stuff. Now it's all smooth, and
Yeah, no,
so they have to dig that out again.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In 2 separate sections, right? The storm and the sanitary are going in one common ditch. Then they have to get that put in and then go to the water side to put in a line there.
Okay, and the other one's really minor. It goes from June 19th to May 25th on the report here.
Oh, that's not okay.
So they're...
I'm glad you read it.
Yeah. With a detailed eye.
They're way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one question about the fiber conduit.
Yes.
Has that been installed?
No, it started Thursday.
Okay, and that be considered part of the shallow utilities, will it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. Okay, that's great. Anything else in Washington? No? Moving on to the building permit reports. Any questions on those for staff? May or June? Okay. Now, we've got June accounts payable, we need a motion to approve them. Get anybody, Aaron and Martin? Any questions on those? All in favor of, question, John?
No, all in favor.
Oh, okay, all in favor? Approving those, okay, great. Now we've got June Public Works update. Any questions on that? John and then Aaron.
I was in Pinewood today and I didn't notice any LED streetlights out yet, and two people actually stopped me and said, when are our LED streetlights going up?
So we gave out notices to all residents, I think it's to be completed by the end of this month. And we did start today and did, the new subdivision down there, the Foley subdivision.
I noticed there were lights in there.
So those are up and running tonight, so if anybody's bored after the meeting, go down there.
We can cruise.
The problem that we had was, rigging our truck to meet, WCB and Fortis compliant. And we had to do a little bit of, modifications and getting, another lifeline and stuff like that, so that's been where the delay is.
Okay, good, thanks. Aaron?
I had the same question.
Same
Glad to hear they're going in, that's all.
Yeah.
I did notice there's 4 in that, the phony part. I thought they might have gone in when the subdivision was done.
Oh, just in today.
Okay. Yes, Lloyd?
Just, for information, what are the bear-proof containers worth?
$1,100?
And where are they going?
Where are they going?
Well, that, we'll have to decide that, but Kathy, we had talked about last year up at Jubilee, you know, with
Mhm.
the PAC committee, and,
Mhm.
so one was gonna go in there. And then we've got, the Centennial one up here is getting so old, and.
I don't think it's even working anymore. That one,
So
yeah.
one was gonna go there, then we
Okay.
had a spare one for when we get a request for other areas.
Okay, good. I really like the extra bylaw enforcement, the light duty people. Do we still have anybody on light duty?
Not this week.
Not this week, okay. Because as soon as we get this wildlife attractant bylaw, and we're gonna need bylaw enforcement.
Yeah.
Lloyd?
One other thing, the outside storage, or is it outside storage at the workshop?
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of a carport area.
Yeah, it's already up, we're just, the roof, the torch on's going on tomorrow.
But you're not filling in the sides or anything?
Yeah, it's all filled.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last thing, is our speed sign still on Spokane?
No, it's back in the shop. What I'm doing to it is putting on a 4D battery, so it's a big battery.
Okay.
So currently, you can either buy batteries to replace that, which we'll find lasts for a week, and we're thinking this battery will last probably 2 months.
Okay.
So it'll be back out tomorrow.
Okay, can't we use a solar battery? Use a solar battery on it?
We can get a solar, kit for it.
Yeah.
But people have those being stolen all the time, and it's not, you know, it's easy to get at.
Yeah.
So.
There's a request to have it show up down on Thompson, down near the
I would
highway.
suggest after construction, because we just keep moving it around McLeod, St. Paul,
Okay.
you know, because of the increased traffic up here.
Okay.
Then we'll have no problem doing that.
Okay.
I mean, we can throw it down there for a couple days if need be. It's easy to move. Steve, our mechanic, made it an awesome job making it portable.
Oh, that's
And
great.
hopefully Not theft.
Not too portable, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it would be great if we could serve Lower Ralston a little bit too, because there's, you know, the.
Well, Lower Ralston will see increased traffic when the bin wall starts too.
Yeah.
So, you know, that'll be part of the construction.
That'll be a detour?
That will be a detour.
Mhm. Okay.
People
Oh, boy.
won't be able to, well, I shouldn't even speak to that yet, because I gotta see the traffic, management plan from the contractor that's awarded the job, but you won't be able to come up on the highway from Lower
Right.
Columbia.
Right.
So you'll have to come along Leroy and up by there.
Okay.
Yeah.
John?
Or Thompson.
When is that wall starting?
Well, the tender closes tomorrow at 2.
I think it was supposed to start in August, wasn't it?
Yeah, or sooner. They had a bit of they've had like a 2-week delay on it.
Because right now, there's no access in the top end of town, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have one access road into
Oh,
town.
no, that'll be put in before that happens. Yeah.
Okay, anything else on Public Works? That's good, thank you, we always appreciate that. Now we have our new actual to budget update as of June. Thank you, Elma.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for that. It's excellent to see that, really appreciate it, so that's great. Any comments on that? Anybody have a?
Well, I guess the comment from my comment is simply that, I see some of these are significantly under, half spent, right? What, the 30% spent, 27% spent, 34% spent, and we're halfway through the year. I mean, we likely to see,
Yeah.
you know, are we gonna be under budget at the end of the year, or are we, facing some significant, expenditures later on? And, sorry, take a Stacy in there, you're probably
Yeah, Elma.
the people who are sitting on a bunch of projects and.
No, it typically fluctuates, right?
Sure.
Like, you still have a lot of things that are gonna be happening yet in the year.
Hmm.
So it would be too soon to say that you're gonna be under budget on all those things.
We can hope.
You know,
Yeah. Okay, that's great, and we really do appreciate that. That's really nice to have, gives us some sense. Oh, Lloyd, sorry.
I was just looking at community support. I hope we're all aware of that. It's very close. We
Well,
better
we
not
get
start
all-
giving money away in the fall, when the fall's program
Yeah.
start here.
Yeah, well, all of those were the grants we
They're-
give people
they're
that we
definitely-
usually give them
yeah.
as soon as they take them as soon as they can.
They'll come
In
from
fact,
the fall, too.
surprised it's not 100%. Who hasn't taken it?
And is that also include the pool
Subsidy program.
subsidy program?
Yes, it would.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
So there's the
Yeah.
extra, there's the extra 12%.
Yeah, it could be.
That's
Well, we'll
like
see how that
drag
comes out.
problem.
Okay, any comment? Yes.
And this is just a partial list, I haven't gone through all the accounts yet.
Right.
So I'll be putting something forward in August as well,
Yeah.
so to show the complete picture.
Great, thank you. We appreciate it.
Right, you said some of this wasn't, some of the accounts hadn't been reconciled to the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to be able to match up, everything that you budgeted, I need to be able to match up with the expense, the way that things are kind of done. I need to be able to follow everything through, so I'm
Good.
partway through doing that.
That's good. We're glad you're here doing that. Okay, verbal update on technical issues from Brian.
Actually, Stacy's gonna.
Oh, Stacy's gonna do it. Okay, Stacy.
So, I'm not sure how much you've told them, Brian, but so I'll start from the beginning. So on Thursday, before the tax notices were due, we had a major malfunction of the router. Basically, it melted. So you could smell it in the office here at the time. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Steve was the only manager left here at that time. He tried to call our support, Positive, and their main guy, we couldn't get in touch with him. We did get in touch with the second guy, and then we went on a mission to try to fix the problem, because basically the router cut out the server and the phones and the internet, which means the email.
Right at tax time.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. It couldn't have been better. It's Murphy's Law, right? And it's, apparently we had an older system that we had no maintenance agreement on, but nobody knew that it needed replacing, and that's why it basically melted it. So Steve went and tried to phone TELUS as our first, because it is a router, so we went to them first. They were no help. And then everybody's on holiday and it's the weekends, and we can't get in touch with anybody because it's July long weekend. So Steve managed to contact a company in Vancouver that is basically a Cisco, which Cisco is the company, the router company. He contacted them to try to get some kind of replacement, and they were the only ones that really came to the party to help at that time. So that finally got sent to us on Wednesday of last week, and then we managed to, between Monday and Wednesday, we managed to just put basically like a commercial router in to at least get one phone in and email to everybody and internet. Now we have this newer router that we can get. We have email, we have internet here, but nobody has direct dial. You can only call the main switch, 7396, and then get delivered to everybody. Sometimes that works. It's a bit intermittent. It's been a challenge to deal with that company and this router and configuring it to our system. We had a long meeting today. Now that Ed from Positive Computers, who is our IT rep, Brian and I had a long meeting with him today to express our disappointment in the situation, and now we are going to get an older router, but that is more easily configured to our system, put in so that we will basically be back to where we were. And not being a very technical person, I'm not really sure how to explain it better than I have. But our thoughts at this time is that we just need to get up and running to where we were, and then we really need to look at the bigger picture in this. And this is where Myra Consulting comes in. She has been made aware of our issues right now, but it is a bigger picture. And we can't look at bigger picture because we need to have phones and email and internet now. So, yeah.
And I think part of the reason why what we're doing is we're getting back up to speed. So hopefully Wednesday, they got a part from Florida. I think it was Florida, sourced from Florida, so it's got express
Probably purchased on
posted.
eBay, right? At this point,
yeah, it was like $600. It is ancient stuff, so it actually
It
is
is
the exact replacement of what we have right now. So hopefully
Yeah.
with that being done, I think it's a power supply
Okay.
issue, so they're going to try to configure that to get us back up and running. So hopefully by the end of the week, we should be kind of where we were before, prior to the July or the June date, whatever that Thursday was.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk to Positive Computers. They're going to give us a full, like, at least a paragraph or a page of what went wrong and what they did to fix it. And then all that stuff's going to go to Myra for part of their background information package on our system, and kind of proving that it's an antiquated system and whatnot. And then further back into moving forward with the Myra stuff, based on staff vacation and council availability and whatnot. So we have a committee of the whole meeting. It was in our information package there that we have one set up from 4:30 to 5:30-ish, give or take, in August. So we're together. They're going to come in for a day. They're going to talk to staff. They're going to come do a presentation to council, talk about what they can see, what they've seen, what they haven't seen. They're already doing background work now on the history of stuff, and they're going to do some interviews with Public Works and with rest of the staff here, just to get an idea of what we need and what we can look at, and kind of talk to everybody to get a little bit of interview and a background on that. And then they'll kind of start doing some move forward solutions with us, with recommendations of costs and timeline and whatnot. So hopefully the fix is going to be a 6-month to kind of 8-month kind of fix while we finish this up, because we don't want to spend a lot of money right now on getting back to something that we don't want to go down this path if we have to go and fix it in a bit. So it's the most cost-effective, cheapest way, fastest way for us to get back up to what we were doing prior to our issues.
Well, thank you for everyone. Steve, thank you for all your efforts, because I know it's been a nightmare for everyone. So I really, really appreciate it. It's horrible. All right, so we couldn't get our computer thing resolved any sooner. So, yes, Aaron.
I just want to echo my condolences to staff for having to work without phones and emails for a couple of days, and my joy that we're going to get the short-term stuff fixed and then get Myra in. And suggest, I don't know, this is already on the agenda, but when Myra is doing the interviews with staff and Public Works and their presentation to council, it would be great, in my opinion, if they also had time to briefly meet with some of the members of the Broadband Task Force. Maybe that's already on the agenda, I don't know.
No, we can add that in.
Yeah, we need to add that in.
Yeah, we can add that in, and then we also are going to try to set up a meeting with the consultant and with Positive Computers, with their IT service provider right now, and we'll see how that goes.
Great.
Okay.
And the other one, and this probably doesn't need a meeting, this is probably more like a phone call, but they should call CBBC. I can give you the contact number. These are the guys that are primed and waiting for us to say, yeah, bring it in, 100 megabits up and down, but they're waiting for the results of the consultant and us to make the decision. Anyway, the consultant should talk to them about what service they are capable and willing to bring in to the city.
Yeah, so we've already actually had a couple startup meetings with them, and we've done a survey and talked about a lot of that stuff already. So
great.
Okay.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, moving on, correspondence. We have a letter from Fall Fair folks, and Public Works is okay with the requests. So I have a motion to approve the Fall Fair request from John, seconded by Andy. Okay, any comments on this? Any questions on Fall Fair? Aaron?
So this is in September?
Yep, September 10th.
Are we gonna have Washington open by that point? Because we're talking about closing down big chunks of Spokane here, right?
Yeah, they understand, there may be changes if we don't have that bottom section open up.
Right, okay.
So I think that would be the only thing, our approval, they have to work with you, but they're gonna anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on this? All in favor? No one opposed. Okay, Golden City Days, so also Golden City Days has requests, we need a motion to approve what they're doing. Lloyd makes it, and Martin seconds it. Any comments on that?
Same comment as for...
Yeah, same comment on that. Also, I think last year we started closing the north side of Columbia for parking for the parade. They don't mention that in here, but we did it last year, and it seemed to work pretty well. Wasn't that
Oh,
great?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did.
That one block. between the
Yeah,
post
just that
office
one
and
block.
bank.
So let's do that again.
Okay.
We do that again. And maybe we should add that to their letter of
Sure.
stuff that gets done.
And I'm sure, Darren, at the end, we'll get a report to the budget and a breakdown of what they spend when it's complete.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of the request from Golden City Days? No one opposed. All right, now, let's see, now we have the tennis court. The tennis court, I'll give you a little background on this one because this is a kind of cryptic email. I had a conversation with the tennis court folks, and they've got an expert coming, but the expert had asked for some geotech work done, just to sort of look at the condition of the site. And the tennis club is paying for that themselves, and they're also looking for grants to do a major overhaul of the facilities themselves. But this is sort of precursor to any of that. So, Martin, you want to make the motion that we
Yeah.
accept this?
Yeah.
Okay, a seconder for that? Aaron, okay, any further discussion on supporting the tennis club?
Yeah, I mean, this is, 100-year-old facility or whatever it is. It's pretty ancient. It's served the community pretty well over the years, and there's a real active bunch of people who are doing programming on a volunteer basis, left, right, and center. And they're attracting all kinds of new people to town, to the courts, and it's really a wonderful thing to see. They're, of course, proposing a larger capital project, whether it's, I think the budget was $300,000 to redo the courts. They seem to think that it could be significantly less. I won't say what that number is, but I think it's a lot less than $300,000. Well, you know, if you don't understand what's under the courts, then I think all of this can be just, a discussion held in the ether. So I think it's really important that we do this, that they do this work and give us some foundation for the future work.
Okay, I'm going to call the question on letting the tennis court go ahead. Oh, you got a question or you're voting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, this is sort of taking it off on a side tangent, and I should know this, but what assurances have we given them about city support in terms of budget for that major capital renovation?
We've been in discussion with them of just, they haven't come to us with a proposal
Right, yeah.
yet, right? So we haven't, we'll give support letters for grants they went through.
Is there anything in the budget?
Not CBT.
Is there anything in the 5-year budget?
Well, there was money in there, but of course it's a placeholder, right? It's not been approved, right? We haven't approved a project.
Okay.
So, yeah. We have to see what the project is. I mean, it could be 100,000, it could be 500,000. We, until we know what we're looking at here. But yeah, we're looking at that. As with all our facilities, we're looking at all our facilities, right? So, anyway, okay. So, going forward with this, all in favor? And no one opposed. Okay. Okay, so now we have information items. We've got A through E. Who wants to talk about what? Aaron, what do you want to talk about?
A, D, and D.
Okay, John, what do you want to hit that hasn't already been said?
Nothing really.
Okay, Andrew?
I can give a real quick update on B.
On what?
On B.
B, okay. Martin?
Yeah, they've been covered.
Okay, and
Covered as
Andy?
well.
And Lloyd?
I'm fine.
Okay, so starting with A, Aaron.
So 2 questions on this. The report from the Heritage Commission has a couple of, well, the first thing is a recommendation that somebody do some maintenance on the Louis Joe sign, or remove the Louis Joe sign because it's getting dented. Or put up a sign that's more resistant to snowplows or...
Was that the sign? No, the sign that Larry's referring to is, I
Yeah.
believe, the
Was that
sign
in
that's
design
down on the
review?
trail.
On the trail, yeah.
It's on the trail?
No, not the one at the trailhead.
Okay.
Somebody's vandalized it.
Okay.
They took a rock to it.
Oh.
All right. So, do we own that sign? Is that our responsibility? I'm not clear.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Is there any
We did
idea?
not know that, actually. We were talking about that at the meeting.
The
Yeah.
Heritage Commission funded
Yeah.
putting that sign up, so the
Good.
Heritage Commission is from council.
There was a park bench and
Mhm.
concrete.
So it's
It was
their
funded-
sign.
Well, I
Or-
mean,
Well,
the
I
Heritage
guess
Commission
it's
is a
our
commission of
sign.
council, so
Right.
it's our sign.
So it's our sign.
Yeah.
So it's our sign.
But it was
Okay.
funded by them.
Okay.
So, I guess, that this being the first of the 2 things I want to talk about, I guess this then is a question for us whether we want to accept the this isn't an actual recommendation that we would be accepting if we adopt these minutes, but it is sort of an in-passing recommendation from Larry Dolan.
Well, if we just receive the minutes and don't accept the recommendations within, we're just receiving the minutes, we're not agreeing to anything, we accept the recommendations within, then that's saying that he's gonna take it down there. But they don't say anything about who's paying for it or what the cost is.
Yeah,
so
it's not
a little
actually,
vague.
it's not the type of recommendation, it's not a voted on recommendation of the Heritage Commission that we
Yeah.
are then accepting if we accept the minutes, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but it is an open question to council, do we want to do something about that sign?
Yeah. Well, I guess they're gonna take it down and figure out what's gonna happen with it, and if they need money for it, and they don't have the money for it, they come
Okay.
back to us, I guess.
All right.
So I'm guessing.
Yeah.
The second question then is about the Columbia Cemetery. And seems like I'm always prefacing everything I say with, I'm ignorant about this, but I'm ignorant about, whose responsibility, the cemetery is the RDKB's, responsibility?
You know, we pay into the
We pay
cemetery
into
service.
the cemetery service.
But is that cemetery still part of that service, or is that I mean, we pay in the service for cemeteries in the region, but
Yeah.
because that one's a closed cemetery, and we have responsibility for it in perpetuity, but when we got money for renovation, or cleanup for it, remember, for like 3 years in a row,
We
we
get
got,
operational money from them too.
for that cemetery. So, yeah, so I guess it's part of the cemetery.
That answers my
bundle.
second question. So those $10,000 grants came from RDKB?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems to me we should ask RDKB for some more $10,000 grants.
Yeah, I was gonna make that suggestion, I was gonna make that suggestion that Lloyd take it back to the RDKB, and look at that. I think that's definitely something we need to do. Lloyd, you're
Okay.
willing to do that? Yeah.
Where is he gonna tell you to go, Lloyd?
No, they had
Come on.
provided.
Spirit of regional cooperation.
Yeah, they had
There might be another
provided.
plot available in that thing.
Hey, we pay money into
paying
that
into the
cemetery
service.
service,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
that
yep.
goes to the Trail Cemetery, that
Sure,
goes to the
yes,
Fruitvale
yes,
Cemetery, so, yeah, there's no problem there.
Lloyd,
Um,
I think we just need to bring like a 3 to 5 year plan to them.
Yeah,
of
every
the
year it
capital,
gets
and then
approved.
Yeah.
That'll make it easier for them to approve it.
No, we do that all the time, don't we? Like every year we
do
do.
an operational one,
Yeah.
yeah, but then if we go for,
The capital.
capital,
Yeah.
In the past, we had somebody appear before council and ask for money to fix that up too. Remember Torreson came before?
no.
You don't remember? Okay.
So do we need a motion to direct staff or Lloyd to go pursue that, or are we just good with?
We probably could have a motion to do that. Would you like to make that motion?
Sure, I'll move
Okay.
whatever Ellison writes down.
Okay.
I haven't even started.
I'll second.
And Lloyd will second it. So it's just a direction to our RDKB rep to take this to the
Well, I
RDKB board
think
meeting with
motion-
an operational plan from staff.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the motion be staff prepare the report
Staff
for
prepares the
presentation.
operational
Yeah,
plan.
okay, yeah. Prepare the report, he takes it, we're all good.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll figure
I'll
that out,
second
yeah.
Lloyd already
Capital
seconded it,
planning.
Okay.
Capital
even before we made it. Okay, all in favor of that?
Perfect.
Yeah, thank
No one opposed, okay, that's good. Okay, so that, anybody else on, anything else on A? That's the Heritage Commission minutes, no? Okay, B, SC minutes.
Yeah, so just a super quick one. It's actually not that much different than, I was just looking at it again, not that much different than the last time around. One of the interesting things that came up that Deanne mentioned in the last meeting, she was at a conference with the Whistler folks, and one of the things that they had kept bringing up was that they really don't want tech workers in town, and so Deanne's got that great connection with them, and
Yeah.
kind of got an informal deal now that when someone says they want to move here,
Yeah.
they're going to redirect them to Rossland.
Yeah, good, excellent.
How great is that?
That is great.
That means like the Matrix died for the car share, so looking for a new car there, but the good news is...
No, they've got a new engine in it. They
Oh,
put a new engine
okay,
in.
I haven't heard that, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's back on the road with a brand new engine with like
Okay,
less than
on the
80,000
Ingrid,
miles.
Good.
And the good news is that people are into the truck, getting used.
Yeah.
Getting used well.
Overused.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Otherwise, working towards Energy Crawl happening in September, end of September, early October, and Kelly St. John's working on a really great FAQ sheet on sort of taking Ken Holmes' information and the information that's out there and translating that into what does that mean in Rockland. So that should be, the group is pretty excited about that, so they seem to be doing well. Otherwise, we are taking a little bit of a break here, and actually not really a break for the summer, because the Western Eco Society people have some funding and energy around the food thing, which our food group is kind of struggling along. We really need a leader. We haven't met in quite a long time. But they want to get together with us and talk about what we want to do because they have some energy and potential resources, which might help fire that group back up a little bit.
Okay, great.
Otherwise, that's it.
All right.
Just a comment, I'm
Yeah.
super excited about the energy fact. I think the idea that, you know, there may be some people in town that are thinking, well, should I put a solar panel on my roof? But does that work in Rossland?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Answer the energy fact. It says yes, no, here's how you do it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Great
I
idea.
hope we have like a couple of real-life examples of some of the counties did it.
Yeah,
Excellent
that's
idea.
great. Okay, who wants to talk about Westminster tenant evictions? Aaron?
That was me.
Okay.
I don't know how the process works, but this is gonna be a resolution at the UBCM.
UBCM. Mm-hmm.
And, do we need a motion from council directing those that are attending UBCM how to vote on that thing? Or do we just vote as we please once we get there?
Well, it would be, generally we vote as we feel when we're there, but for something, if there's a council will on how this should be addressed, I think it's worth a discussion, because there could be differences around the table of whether we support this or not support this.
As one of the people that's gonna be there, I'm just gonna vote.
You're gonna vote? Okay.
Regardless,
I actually was not gonna support it, because I think it, I think...
Let's discuss it then, okay.
Yeah, okay,
let's discuss it.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea with a bit of tweaking. The idea that you come back in at the exact same rate you left at is a bit off because it has been renovated. It's probably a higher value. But something that accomplishes the same idea, I think sounds like a very necessary thing. But I don't know what your opposition is. I'd be interested to hear what it is.
Well, my opposition is that I think it's too heavy a hammer. If there are people who are doing these kind of tenant evictions and they're nefarious and they're doing it just so they can get rid of somebody and bring in somebody higher rent, that's one thing. The person they can go to their landlord-tenant resources for that, legal aid or whatever it is, right? But for a landlord that has a property and they want to maintain it, they want to fix it up, they want to do whatever, they'll never get their money out of it. So you'll discourage people from doing any improvements to their buildings at all, and you're going to end up with these decrepit buildings because people aren't motivated to do it. So I think it's like Lloyd says, find the problem, what's the problem, and then address the problem. If the problem are tenants are being unfairly targeted by landlords, that's a problem. We'll go after the ones that are doing that. But I don't think this is a broad-based, tool for that, and I think it goes too far myself. So, John.
I was going to say the same thing. Before I can support this, I need a lot more information.
Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, and I think this is really a problem that's happening in the Lower Mainland. I don't think this is a problem that's
no, I know it's not here.
affecting us here.
It's not a problem for us, but what they're asking for is support, support for something that would affect us because it would go into provincial legislation, right? Andy?
it does actually, just it isn't an urban issue. I've seen it in smaller communities as well happen. So it is used as a ploy at times, and that's what this whole letter is about. He is trying to address a problem. There's a lot of people that do abuse it.
But I don't think this is the way to address the problem.
No, I agree. So, yeah, no.
Okay, so So
Yeah.
vote your conscience, Aaron, or you can
Yeah.
get up and speak at the microphone and get them to amend it.
Amendment.
You can make an amendment, absolutely. But we don't have to do anything about it, we're
Yeah,
just
sounds good.
receiving it, we're
Yeah.
not doing anything with it. And then there's the UBCM, did somebody want to talk about the appointment book? Yes, who want to talk about the appointment book? Is that you?
No.
Who had E? Somebody had E? Nobody had E? Oh, okay, I wrote down E. I wrote down E, maybe because I wanted to talk about it. The Mayor's Coalition is gonna have appointments with a couple of ministers for Highway 3. But other than that, for us, I haven't thought about anything we need to talk to ministers about unless somebody wants.
Or the Premier?
Or the Premier, no, haven't called her up lately. John?
I have, and I think Aaron and I touched on it, the 7th School.
Yeah, this is the one, yeah.
Education,
So,
talk to the education minister.
Yeah, I think if the education, well, we're faced with a situation where the 7th Summit School needs more space, and we have a space in town that was specifically designed to be an educational space, but we can't use it as such, because ST20 will not sell it to us without a caveat that it can't be used by.
And that is
Right.
totally wrong.
If, so the question is, how do you deal with that? There are a number of possibilities. One is, we could just buy the thing and then defy the caveat and tell them to sue us.
Don't put that in the press.
Yeah, don't, you know, but, because of the publicity would be shut up. Another is, you go to the ministry and say, are you aware that ST20 is doing this?
Yeah,
These-
and
these
they
your
are
rep-
aware.
These are your representatives in town.
Yeah.
And we think it's unfair and contrary to your objectives for the following reasons. So.
Okay, so let's get, we'll get an appointment with the Minister of Education and have something written up.
Yeah.
So, can you write something up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and I'll make the appointment.
Get with you on that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that is good. And actually, I did have a conversation with the minister about it a few
Yeah.
years ago, and basically he punted it and said, it was a different minister at the time, punted it and said, well, you know, that's a SD20 issue. That's, you know.
I can try to set it up such that it doesn't seem like a parochial issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue that's integral to that, the objectives. of the
Yeah,
district.
objective. I think that would be good. Sarah?
I'm just curious about whether that caveat still applies now that Seven Summits is partnering
It's
with
public school.
a public school district.
I would like to speak to
I'd
our
really like to
school
clarify
board rep.
that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Well, we'll find out.
Seems to me it shouldn't apply anymore.
I'd like to talk to Gordy Smith about
Yeah,
that too.
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
All right, well,
Because the caveat has written, I'd like to go look at the caveat as written into the sale, the contract
Yeah.
that they use to sell McLean, because I believe it does say independent school or private school.
yeah, yeah, it does. Okay, so, yeah, there's a little bit of work to do on that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Stifles competition.
So we may not need to talk to them.
It's a bit-
Yeah, so, well, we can make the
Communistic.
appointment and always cancel it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's easier to cancel it than it is to get it. Okay, so now, we'll just, where am I here?
Receive all the items.
Yep, we're just gonna receive the items, which I hate to receive the items. Okay, so what we're doing is that the information items A through E be acted upon as recommended, because we already received them. So I have a motion for that from somebody. Martin, seconded by Andrew. All in favor? Okay. Good. Now, members' reports. Aaron, are you ready to go?
Sure.
Or should I start with Lloyd?
No,
Okay.
just two things. We, as you, well, you did hear, I forwarded the results of the Climate Hall town meeting that our MP, Richard Cannings, held here in town with the support of the West Kootenai Eco Society and People's Climate Lobby. It was really well attended, probably like 75 people there from not just Rossland, but around the area, as it was designed to be. And the purpose was to give him input that he would then take to the federal government to help them shape their climate plan. You got the results. I guess I don't need to tell you much about it, other than it went very well, and I delivered a nice long speech about all the wonderful climate-related things we do here in Rossland. But was careful to note that it wasn't we, City Hall, that was doing it all, that it was the people of Rossland, the dedicated volunteers in this town that were doing much of the heavy lifting. The other meeting was with Kathy and Nelson. We met with the head of their IT, with their CAO, and with one of their, was it one of the counselors?
Yep.
Yeah. On broadband, we are Nelson is moving ahead quite strongly on providing broadband to their business community, and has an IT department and has a utility that can actually do the billing. So a number of ways they're set up with sort of municipal infrastructure that we as a smaller community just can't afford. So the thing we wanted to explore with them was what kind of appetite they had for sharing services, not on a volunteer basis probably, but on a paid basis, or to what extent we could rely in future on cooperating with them to try to push forward our objectives on broadband. And the answer was they're very interested on a case-by-case basis. Some things make sense to share, some things don't make sense to share. But we've started the conversation, and we'll continue to work on it, both with them and with CVBC and our task force to try to figure out what makes sense. And of course, in the context of the regional cooperation committee, probably, which will be meeting this week. That's all.
Good, thanks. John?
Okay, there was a Heritage Commission meeting July 4th, which I was unable to attend. The minutes are in the package, so I don't have much to say on that. I was at a design review committee meeting June 28th, and EJM was there asking for some changes to the cornice on the credit union building. They approved it, fits with all the requirements. And Chris Bowman was there, looking for changes to the old hardware store building. There were some suggestions. They want to do new awnings, paint the building. It was basically approved with some changes. They wanted to put up black awnings, and it was suggested that a striped awning be put up.
Yeah, that was all in the package.
Yeah, it was all in the package, yeah. And the museum hasn't had a meeting, so.
Good, thanks. Andrew?
Oh, one other thing from SC that I forgot to mention was, one thing that food group is working on is, Kaylee and Jillian are working on a food charter for Rossland, so we may hopefully in the fall see that coming back to council to have a look at, and very much a work in progress right now, but they got good work happening. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just I've been posting that on Facebook, it seems like about every month or so now, people in town not following stop signs and not stopping at stop signs. It's come to the point now, there's been about 3 times even in the last week where my son and I literally have to jump off the road to get out of the way of cars that are just going to run into us. And in particular, at least the one that we noticed the most is second in Spokane, right at the top of the steep hill by the arena and sort of right by Brian Fry's house there.
Oh, that's nasty.
It happens every single day. People just blow right through that stop sign. And what I was a little bit surprised today, I had to laugh about it because I was like, do I have to post this again and again and again? People that like it and share it are unfortunately my friends from not here. But today I noticed one of the cop can excavators drove straight through, no stopping, and then he was followed behind by a City of Roslyn Public Works car going right through the stop sign.
Oh, Darren, get on those guys.
There was nobody around.
Excavator? An actual excavator, a track excavator?
No, actually, backhoe loader, I guess. Was
Okay.
I think it was one of the cop can guys.
Okay.
And that particular incident wasn't a big issue, but that's like, we got stopped.
Yeah, stop. Especially if someone was going wrong way up the hill too, right?
Yeah, because it's tricky visibility with the retaining wall there a little bit. The one that I found the most is that we were biking down the side of the road there, and then people just did a right turn, not even stopping, and literally slammed on the brakes there, not a foot away from our front tires from slamming into it. And it happens all the time.
There's something wrong with that intersection, because I've noticed that too. People don't stop at those stops.
Strange.
Huh,
You don't have
okay.
much traffic, but occasionally people are there.
Okay. Press, you got that? Gonna warn people to stop at stop signs? It's like the big red ones, kinda round, you know, to stop.
That's both ways before crossing the street. I gotta keep my life.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Don't drink, please.
All right, Martin, are you ready? Martin?
Okay, so there was a Tourism Rossland meeting last week. Chris Bowman resigned, which is a bit of an issue because he's provided excellent leadership for the last 5 years. And anyway, I would recommend that we send Tourism Rossland, and specifically Chris Bowman, a letter thanking him for his 5 years of leadership. Secondly, there's a new tourist info center downtown, down by your wife's shop. And I think that will help, because a lot of tourists, they walk around downtown looking for information, and there isn't any, and they get told they have to go out to the museum. So anyway, some go to the museum, and now some can get information downtown, so that's kind of a good thing.
Where is it, Mike?
It's down just in
Where Mabu was.
Oh.
That's a new business, so it's embedded in this new business, and
Good.
Yeah,
the
it's,
owner,
Natasha.
proprietor there said, well, I'll guarantee this thing's open 7 days a week from 9 till 2:30 or something, so.
And there will be a ribbon cutting
Oh, yeah.
in early August, probably, or maybe right before the, yeah.
Good. Thirdly, 3 out of 4 points here, RMI funding, which is the capital funding for some projects. A budget had been submitted, it was approved, and then they got their funding cut because the funding from the province was allocated based on a formula that kind of penalized our area because we had a lousy season in 2015 due to the fires during the summer, which reduced hotel room nights in the area, and then the early part of that winter wasn't all that great for winter traffic. So anyway, there's a significant variation in funding, and it's really hurting Rossland. Some of the other areas have benefited by taking some of the money that would have been allocated to Rossland had, weather and fires not been an issue for us. So we were kind of wondering whether the city might be in a position to talk to the relevant provincial people and, discuss the need for a more equitable, stable funding stream.
Well, right now RMI is, you want to
I was just gonna say that, so we're already in conversation, we have a meeting set up next week with Tourism Rosa, myself, and I believe Amber is gonna be involved with that, talking to people we're doing a review of the RMI program actually right now, and there's a big questionnaire that we're working on towards that will address all these issues.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Super, thanks. And then fourthly and lastly, the multi-year agreement. Tourism Rosa would dearly love to have a multi-year agreement, and I know we as council have discussed that. We're in support of it, subject to the review. Our staff is dealing with that at the moment, and there are some issues that I think need to be addressed, and I won't discuss them here, but I think there's an opportunity to make some changes there that will strengthen the organization. Thank you.
Okay. Andy?
I attended the climate action event as well on the 4th, and Aaron, you did a great job representing the city and the community in general. There was a lot of people from out of town there, the surrounding area, which was nice to see, and it was a great opportunity for Rossland to shine with a lot of the initiatives that we've got on our plate.
The other event had been held in Nelson, right? So they were the two locations.
Yeah, so I was there. I think there's a number of people from Nelson there as well. So there were people from all over the West Kootenays, I think. So I was really impressed with the turnout for sure. I attended the July 6th Follies, so it was nice to get the invitation from the Folly Group. And for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, John, I hope you're taking your family to see them again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
They may not know it yet, but they're good.
Great show, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to go and see it at some point through the summer. And on the 9th, I attended as a guide for the Columbia Valley Hills to Valley Garden Tour. That was pretty neat. So that was an LCC DTS initiative to help. We supported that tour, and it was kind of a neat day.
How many people participated? Do you know?
There were at least 140 that sat down for lunch at the winery.
Wow.
And of those, 30 took a van tours. So the 2 van tours, and I was guide for one of those van tours. And we saw 15 different properties between Rossland and Fruitville Beaver Valley. Wow. So very cool. Lots of both I mean, lots of flower gardens, but also lots of combination veggie gardens, and one farm. So it was really neat, and I can see that expanding. I remember Rossland doing our own garden tour not so long ago, and maybe, through the FC, and I can see that happening again. Nish and Dan Hayden's garden was one of the highlighted tours in town here, and Libby and Ian Martin. So it was really great to have those two tours representing Rossland, and people were extremely impressed.
Great.
Yep.
Lloyd?
Okay. The Roslyn Fire Task Force, we had a meeting, and the terms of reference indicate this task force is finished on July 31st. The chairperson is doing a draft report for review by the task force prior to the final report for council, which I anticipate will be sometime in mid-August. Brian has passed on information on the auxiliary halls, the assessments and that kind of thing, and a breakdown of the regional facility for Fletcher, who's doing the report. We also, Larry Sim and Jerry Woodhouse, two members of the committee, have identified the minimum amount of equipment we would have if we have to purchase or operate our own hall. And the fire department of the regional district for the cost and inventory of the existing equipment in the district. Of course, the cost, they put down the cost of purchasing the new equipment. And Brian has determined that our average contribution to the regional fire service over the last 10 years has come to about 16.5%. So, you know, if that's the route we go down, the road we go down, you know, we'll look for some kind of acknowledgement that we paid for a lot of the equipment that's in existence now. So council can look forward to that report in mid-August. On July 4th, I attended an interview. The RDKB is doing a service review, and I know Kathy responded by email, and I reviewed hers, and I went down for an interview with them, and elaborated on a number of various aspects of the operation. I was in there for a couple hours, and they had our interviews scheduled, so I had a little bit to say about that. And I made some notes, and I think Kathy, I passed them on to Kathy, the notes of this meeting and another meeting, my personal notes, and I thought we were going to circulate them in the information package. They never got circulated.
I haven't done it yet.
So
I've got 'em.
I'll get them circulated to you, and there might be more questions forthcoming about the review. And also on July 6th, I attended the RDKB Fire Service Sustainability meeting at the East End Services Committee. And again, I had a lot of written notes on that. We discussed a number of items. And, you know, we had 10 items put forth by the firefighters and the paid-on-call people. And that was in March the 1st, and we finally had the second meeting to discuss those items in July. So it indicates to me there wasn't a lot of serious consideration going into reducing those fire costs. But we do have a next meeting scheduled for September, and this meeting was to discuss the 10 proposals that were put on the table, and also they opened it up for suggestions from anybody else. And I had a list of suggestions and possible things to discuss about fire cost reduction. Suffice it to say, it wasn't received really well. And I think that our meeting on Thursday, where we're talking about regional cooperation and collaboration in the region, we're going to have to develop some strategies to address a number of issues that we have at the regional level. And so that'll be forthcoming, and hopefully, you know, we can elaborate on that on Thursday's meeting. And today, Darren had informed me he had the geotech people look at the drainage problem behind the seniors building, and they came up with some suggestions, and I conveyed the suggestions to the president of the Seniors Association. That's all I've got for now.
Okay, great, thanks. Questions?
Yeah. Just two comments. You know, back to this regional cooperation meeting, you know, it's sort of apparent to me that nobody really, none of our partners really understand the financial challenges facing Rossland. I mean, they sort of acknowledge in a kind of lip service sort of way that, yes, Rossland has old infrastructure and has high costs, and, you know, sorry to hear that, but, you know, we're proceeding with our agenda without any changes. And I'm wondering, you know, when you say on Thursday you're gonna, you know, discuss,
That's
what
our
a
committee,
strategy- what our strategy
community,
might
our
be.
Roslyn committee.
Yes, and I really do think that we ought to, you know, heed your words from earlier in the meeting, is what is really the problem that we've got, and what is the problem that we want to share with our fellow partners?
Could I answer that,
Sure.
Kathy? First of all, Brian's been very helpful. Brian did some work, and he looked at the requisition over the last 10 years also. And our requisition, we're paying about 2% more of the requisition at the regional level than we used to pay. And Trail is paying just about 5% less than what they paid before. And at the meeting, I did point out to all the participants around the table that the only two people that saw their share of the requisition decrease was electoral area A and the city of Trail. Everybody else is going up. And, you know, I had some good conversations with Brian before the meeting. You know, I just didn't go in and say, this is what we'd like to see, you know.
Right.
And I pointed out to Montrose, Fruitvale, Warfield, that the pattern is going the same way for them as one for us. Right now, it's minimal because their budgets are so small. But the pattern is going the same way, where their share of the requisition is increasing for all these services. And because we've got a larger budget, of course, it impacts us more.
Aaron, you had a question?
That's very interesting. Thanks for your work on that, Brian. I expect that's going to be really useful. So two questions. One, when you say you're hoping to get some acknowledgement of the capital contributions Roslyn's made over the years to the fire service in the event that we do decide to leave the fire, what do you mean by acknowledgement?
Well, either...
You know what, I think it's premature to
Yeah,
get
okay,
into any
all
kind of
right,
discussions
okay.
about that. because
Anyway,
it's-
all right,
yeah,
good, yeah.
That's another day.
And just a question, at our last meeting, we passed a motion, or two motions, pursuant to emergency preparedness and our willingness to join the agreement. Has there been any meetings on that in the interim?
No, there hasn't. And I've talked to John McLean, and we've in turn talked to the chair, and he thought, had he been there, and I think Brian had the same conversation with John McLean, had he been there, he would have favored us just paying for the time we're in rather than paying for the whole year. So I'm hoping that can be readdressed. But I think part of the strategy when we start talking about regional cooperation and collaboration, we'll have to develop a strategy, and maybe their strategy we might very well have some one-on-one meetings with these people.
Right.
And that would be one of the issues, that we can express our position a little more fully.
We'll talk about that on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that'll
great.
be good. Okay. I have a couple things for members' reports. Canada Day, many thanks to Aaron for leading the hike up to the top of Roberts, and I was a wimp and did not go. And the museum for organizing, Councillor Matthew Oliver for being there in full uniform, John for helping cut the cake, that was great. And it was a really lovely event, you know, and I'm looking forward next year with the 150th birthday that we'll do a bigger deal at the museum again.
We gotta get a
Canada
bigger
Day.
flag next year.
Bigger flag. And speaking of the Canada 150 celebration, the committee met today, and the committee is made up of various people from different organizations. And the main idea is that all the events that we currently have, like Winter Carnival, Golden City Days, you know, all those regular events that we do, we'll just get everybody to do a Canada Day theme. So we're probably going to have to paint our bobsled red and white for the event, or you know, decorate it in some way. But that's the main thing. The other thing that we're looking at is trying to find if there's like a music festival or a children's festival or something that's organized elsewhere that we can sort of import to Rossland, because we're just afraid that we don't have the capacity to create a brand new event. You know, there's a bunch of tried and true community volunteers sitting around the table, and they're going, oh my God. But Deanne from Tourism Rossland is looking into some of the funding that's available for Canada 150 celebrations, as well as some other events that might travel. Speaking of events that travel, I volunteered for the Broken Goat trail race this weekend, and that's an event that's organized by people from Kelowna, but they bring it and they run the whole thing. We get the benefit of all the visitors who come and stay and discover what a great town we are, but we don't actually organize it. And that's the kind of thing we're looking to start some other to continue to build on our 4-season resort attractions and all of that. So that's happening. I was elected chair of the Highway 3 Subcommittee, which is the body that's creating a marketing strategy from the Alberta border to Hope. It started out as trying to brand Highway 3 as the electric highway, but of course one of the first things we discover is when you're trying to market something, you have to have what you're marketing in place. And we don't completely, right? We're making progress, but anyway, so it's a really good group. There's the Kootenai Rockies people are working on it, and the Okanagan tourism folks are in on it, and then there's mayors dotted along the way, so there's a group there. And then also Ministry of Transportation's involved, the economic development folks from the ministry also. So there's good representation of people. And there's a lot of energy to market Highway 3 corridor the way Highway 97 has been marketed, the way the Alaska Highway has been marketed. So there's some good energy behind that. And the plan is that we'll have to have a plan by the time we go to, or a proposal for a plan, not actually the plan, by the time we go to UBCM in September to talk to the ministry about. So there's that. Yes, thanks to Aaron for going to Nelson with me and hosting the IT folks. And, I went to the kickoff session for creating a 10-year regional tourism strategy sponsored by Destination BC. And that was for everybody from Revelstoke, so Revelstoke is far north and then all east and west Kootenai. The Destination BC is the provincial tourism lead on this. They're trying to create these strategies. They want to do about probably 15 to 18 of them throughout the province and get sort of a coordinated thing to identify some of the main barriers to tourism. Like for us, the obvious one is air transportation, right? Or, maybe it's a road condition or whatever. So there's things. So there's a group that's working on that. And for me, that'll probably mean a couple of meetings, but it won't be a huge time commitment. And yeah, that's it. We're going to have the grand opening for the information center, probably early August, and that is Natasha Lockney of the Betty Gohard that's opened a center downtown. Right now she has some things for sale, but it's going to be a sort of a center for their bike shuttle operation, bring people in, show them videos, that kind of thing, of biking. And that's it. So, okay, so I think now, if there's anything further, we're going to recess in camera under Section 91E, Acquisition Disposition of Property, and Section K, Negotiations and discussion of a provision of municipal service. So, thank you, everyone, and good night.
Have we got a couple of minutes?
Yep, we got a couple minutes. Stretch.
I did, but I'm...
Yeah, stretch is good.